So an old Southern classic that you can't have anymore when you're doing keto is biscuits and gravy. Or is it? I'm going to show you how to make biscuits and gravy, keto, almost carnivore, and as delicious as any country biscuits and gravy you've ever had. Hey, this is Victor with your Best Body Blueprint. And if you're from the South, or if you're from the North and have come to the South, then no doubt you've tried our biscuits and gravy. Some people call it sawmill gravy, but it's a sausage gravy over biscuits, like you can get at Cracker Barrel or any of the Southern diners down here. Any of the restaurants, grandma's table, biscuits and gravy are all over. These things will go great with bacon, eggs. They've got sausage in them already. And if you just want them as a meal on their own, they're more than enough. So I know you don't want to hear the history of the biscuits and gravy. So let's just start. I'm going to show you what ingredients you need, and let's start cooking. So what you're going to need for these biscuits is a cup of pork breadcrumbs or pork panko. You're going to need some salt, baking powder. You're going to need some sour cream. You're going to need a carton of liquid egg whites, half a stick of butter, and your favorite mixing bowl. I'm pretty sure we borrowed this from my sister-in-law's house and it just hasn't made its way back yet, but this is probably my favorite one. I'm sure it'll make its way back one day. So the first thing we have to do is cut this butter up into cubes, and then we're going to put it back in the refrigerator to get really, really cold. Because when you make biscuits, you got to have the cold butter or they won't come out right. So I'm just going to cut this into some cubes. I'm going to throw this whole cutting board right in the fridge. Cut it into some triangles. These little chunks are what helps make the biscuits real buttery with a crispy exterior. Just you want that little bit of crunch on the outside. Yeah, biscuits and gravy is a traditional Southern dish, so hope you like this version of it. So I'm going to just put this right in the fridge. I'll be right back for the next step. The next thing I have to do is measure out a cup of egg whites. Now these will work fine if you want to separate your own eggs from yolks. You got a way to use the yolks, go ahead. Sometimes if I'm going to make a mayonnaise, then I'll hold on to the yolks, but it's just easier for me to go with those and just measure it out. You're also going to need a little lemon juice for this part. I forgot to mention that earlier, but that's what's going to help these liquid egg whites whip up to stiff peaks. So we're going to put this in as soon as it kind of starts to bubble up from mixing it. We'll add this in and let it get to stiff peaks before we do the next step. So can you see all the bubbles in there? When it starts to bubble like that, we're going to get a teaspoon of this lemon juice in here. So I'm just going to go in with a teaspoon of lemon juice there and continue to blend this up on high. So you see how that's thickening up pretty good now, but it's still got a little ways to go. We're going to get peaks in this. So let's keep going on high. So the way you check to see if it's got stiff peaks or not, you just pull this up. If it holds that shape right there, you got stiff peaks. Let's try again right there. That's what we're talking about. I'm still going to go about another 30 seconds or so just to make sure. And I'm going to put this in the fridge while I'm getting the other stuff together. That's what's up. just going to clean these. I'm going to put this in the fridge while I get the dry ingredients together. So now what I'm going to do is take a separate bowl. I'm going to take my cup with the pork breadcrumbs. And I've got a video on this on the channel also. I'll link it just to show you what I use to make them. Makes it really easy. And it saves you a bunch of money over buying them at the store. So to that we're going to add a teaspoon of baking powder. And I would say about a quarter teaspoon of salt too. I'm just going to mix this together really well. And we'll go on to the next part. So I'm just going to take this sour cream and put it right in with the dry mix. I'm going to get my egg whites. I'm going to get my butter. And what I'm going to do is just mix this together, about like that. I'm just going to put it in with the egg whites. Now you don't want to mix these to death. You don't want to lose the airiness of the egg whites. And you just take this butter, kind of crumble it in there like that too. And we're going to incorporate all this together. And then we're going to put them on a small cookie sheet that's lined with parchment paper. Then we're going to put them back in the fridge for just a couple minutes. So just kind of fold it together like that. So it looks pretty good. I'm going to take this spoon. I'm just going to scoop out a big hunk like that. Put it right there. Tighten up. Tighten up now. I'm just going to make these little biscuits like that. Try to add a little more to each one. Try to make them into more of a biscuity shape. I like the biscuits big, so hey. I'll tighten that up. I'm going to put that back in the fridge for just a minute. And then we're going to put these in the oven. Now my oven's at 400 degrees, so I'm going to go ahead and toss these in the oven. So check on them in about 13 minutes. And if you want to see more recipes like this, then make sure you subscribe right there and hit that bell button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll get a notification and you can watch it right then. And what you're going to need for this gravy is some breakfast sausage or mild pork sausage. I like this one because it's the only one I can find that does not have MSG in it. And I couldn't find anything local today, so I had to get what I could get. You're going to need a block of softened cream cheese, so I just let it sit out for about an hour before I'm ready to start cooking with it. You're going to need a half an onion. You're going to need some bone broth. It's 2/3 of a cup of that. Y'all know I love this bone broth concentrate that I get at Walmart. And then you're going to need some Parmesan Reggiano, some salt, and some fresh black pepper. So I'll show you how we put this together. So I was going to film this in the same location, but I forgot I had an unfortunate New Wave induction cooker accident the other day. I had it sitting back there where that tea kettle is, and I thought I was turning on the right burner and I turned on the left. So there's a little burned plastic in it. Just doesn't work the same. So I'm just going to take this hex clad pan, make sure I turn on the right burner to a nice medium. I'm going to heat this up a little bit and I'm going to put the sausage right in there. So I just put the whole tube of it in there, and it sure enough looks like dog food, but doesn't taste like it, I don't think. I mean, I ain't never tasted dog food, but the way this smells when it's cooking and before it's cooking compared to the way the dog food smells, pretty sure it's a whole lot better. I know this is good when it's cooked anyway. I don't think I'm going to give the other a shot. And I'm going to cook it down. I'll show you what it looks like. So I'm just kind of going through and breaking it up in little chunks like that and let it cook up. I'll just keep breaking it down into little smaller pieces. Now while that's cooking, I'm going to go ahead and dice up this half onion, because that's going to go in there next and cook. You hear that? That's the sound of success. So we're just going to flip this over, keep breaking it down a little bit, keep on cooking it up. So it's been 13 minutes. I'm going to check on these. They're looking pretty good, but they got just a little bit to go. So I'm gonna turn that pan around and let them cook for about 2 more minutes. So I just got these out of the oven. I actually had to cut those a little bit because they kind of ran together. And I cut those. What I'm gonna do is just take them off and put them on this cooling rack for a minute. If there's any butter left on the bottom of this, you can always brush it in. I don't think that's going to be the case with these. So there was no butter left on there to put over the top. You can melt some butter if you wanted to put over the top of these, but this is what they look like. And I'm actually going to, I've turned the oven off, and so I'm just going to put them back in there to stay warm while I'm finishing the gravy that I'm making, that I'm going to show you the recipe to. So you can see these are a little bit flat, and I just looked at my baking powder and realized that stuff has been expired for about 6 months. So make sure your baking powder is fresh, and these are going to rise a whole lot more. But these are just like little pancake biscuits with some bad baking powder. So anyway, y'all know I'm not a baker, but I know this tastes good. They didn't rise that much this time, but next time they will. So this is how they turned out. You can also put them in a muffin pan if you want them to be a little taller. I'm just going to put these on a plate and put the gravy on top. So this is fine with me. It's going to be some great eating. So if you put these in the muffin pan, they come out like this. So depending on how you like your biscuits, if you like them flatter or a little bit higher. Now at this point, I've just been breaking this down and just kind of moving it around, and it's done when you can't see any more pink in it like this. But I like that little bit of crust, just like that on the outside. So I'm going to kind of leave it alone. I'm going to spread it out and leave it for 3-4 minutes and let it develop a crust on the bottom before I go on to the next step. Alright, so this has been sitting in there and getting proper. That's what I'm talking about right there. That's what I like. So I'll leave it in there just a little bit longer. I'm going to try to flip it over and get a little crust on the other side too. It's pretty good right there. So what I'm going to do is just push these off to the side. I want all this grease to collect in the middle. And I'm going in with the onions. So I'm just going to throw the onions right in the middle, like that. And if you're like me, you might want a little garlic in there too. So these hex-clad pans that I use, I like them for a lot of different reasons. One of the best things they allow you to do is kind of move stuff up on the side, and it'll stick there kind of like a wok. So I really like that about them. So yeah, I'll just let that onion and garlic cook down a little bit. Alright, so you see how they're just starting to brown up like that? That's when you want to go ahead and mix all this back together. One thing that I do want to mention at this point in the video is that a lot of people are going to want to go ahead and drain the grease after we've cooked this garlic and onion. I like a lot of grease, but you'll see, I'll show you at the end of the video how you have to stir it in and just keep stirring it in, where you can drain it right now and it'll make a gravy like probably more of what you're used to. I just like to have some of that extra fat in there because it's more flavor. And then we're going to add in a block of cream cheese. So I just threw the block of cream cheese in there. I'm just going to start cutting it up. And just mixing it around. And just kind of melting and incorporating that with this sausage and onions and garlic and all this goodness. Alright, and that's what you want it to look like before we go on to the next step. You don't want any chunks of cream cheese left in there. This little chunk right there, we'll get rid of that. Just mix it up. Let me go get the other ingredients. So now all I'm going to do is pour in this bone broth. I'm just going to stir it through. It's going to be pretty well combined. Then we're going to put in some Parmesan cheese. Stir that in. I'm going to turn down to medium-low and just let it cook for 5-10 minutes or so. So I just tasted it, and it does need a little bit of salt. So I'm just going to go ahead and salt it just a little. I'm going to put in some fresh cracked black pepper, and then we're just going to let it cook on low for about 10 minutes. So that's about how much black pepper I put on there. To make a true southern gravy, that's about what you need. Now if you're like pure carnivore and you can't have the black pepper or don't want the black pepper because of oxalates or whatever, just leave it out. There's no problem. Man, it tastes quite as good without the black pepper. But that's just my opinion, because that's just the way I like it. So we'll just give it a little stir and let it sit here and cook for just a few minutes and get nice and thickened up. Oh, and by the way, for this, if you don't have Parmesan Reggiano, Parmesan works just fine. You just want a hard cheese. So don't go out and buy that special if you got some Parmesan sitting in there. Or just get the Parmesan anyway, it'll work fine. I just had that left over because I make the Rayo's meatballs, which I did the other night. And if you haven't seen that video, I'll put a link to it. But we just made those, so we had some of that Parmesan Reggiano left over. So that's why I used it. Any hard cheese will work. So after it's been cooking about 10 minutes, this is what it looks like. You just kind of see that consistency of the gravy there. So it's going to be really good over those. Got some bacon cooking in the microwave. If you don't have one of these yet, I'll put the link down below. You got to get one of these bacon makers. There's no mess. I took the lid off. It's got a lid on it, but it's not messy at all, and it's quick. And it makes crispy bacon, as you can see. So you can see I didn't drain the sausage grease off of this. So what you have to do is stir it in. Now if you don't like this much sausage grease, you're trying to make it lower fat for like a high pro day or something like that, just drain it. It'll still be good, but I'm not doing a high pro day today. I'm doing all the fat today, and fat is flavor. So I'm gonna leave all that in there, stir it in, put it over these biscuits. All right, so this is how I like to finish it, is just put 2 biscuits on the plate and just come over it with this gravy like that. It's got all the sausage in it. And this is a traditional southern biscuits and gravy, but keto and a whole lot more healthy. So this is what's for dinner. Biscuits and gravy, some beautiful eggs, and some bacon. So a biscuit and gravy recipe that you can feel good about and you can feel good after eating. It's every bit as good as Cracker Barrel, every bit as good as any southern diner food you've ever had, and you can feel good about eating it at the same time. Now, if you've got anything that you like to add on the side of your biscuits and gravy that I haven't mentioned, please leave me a comment down there and let me know what you like. I like the bacon and the eggs myself, but if there's anything else that you like to put on the side, let me know. I appreciate you guys so much for watching my videos. I hope that you really like the recipes. And if you want to see more recipes like this, copycat recipes, product reviews, camping videos, then make sure you subscribe right there and hit that bell button. And then every time I upload a new video, you'll get a notification and you can watch it right then. And I do really appreciate you guys watching. If you know somebody that loves biscuits and gravy, share this recipe with them. Hope you all enjoy making it. Hope you enjoy eating it. And I'll see you next time. Get your health right.